Welcome to the regular meeting of Tuesday, June 27th. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I'd like Mr. Mansor to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask our board to make sure they're speaking into the mic. We're still working on a few things, but to make sure that the voices are picked up, at least by the recording, asking that you probably don't hear any tapping on it because it's got a tough time. But just make sure you speak into it so that on the recording it comes out everybody good. With that, we have a motion to approve the agenda. Support. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, with that, we're going to move to citizen comment. And we have, we'll start over here on the left.
Yes. If I could, I'd like to. Before I start, I'd like to hand out a map that actually was produced by the township. The purpose of my being here is to discuss changing the zip code area for the northern area of Blanc Township and 145.7 to the 144. And so I'd like to talk to you about the reasons why, and I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Jet Kilmer. I'm the president of the Grand Blanc Chamber of Commerce. I live at 2336 East Maple Avenue in Grand Blanc Township. So as a chamber, we have tried to take this on as far as changing the zip code area for those people in here. For the township, we're looking at about 1,500 families, which are in that zip code area, which is Flint 48507. You're looking at about 70 or 80 businesses, including yourselves, which are under this Flint 48507. So reasons that we're looking at doing this is when you look at a house around 3,600 square feet that is in the city in Kirkridge, the liability insurance for that house is around $1,200. When you look at the same like house in the township, which is under the Flint 48507, we're at $2,200. So it's a considerable disadvantage to have that zip code number for a house that is located in Grand Blanc. It puts your constituents, your residents, at a where they're paying more money to live in an area and do that. So we have talked about this since 2013 within the chamber and trying to make this happen. We have gone and gotten over 100 letters from residents in the area. We have talked to over 70 different businesses that are very much in favor of this. As far as their liability insurance, it's a huge thing. As far as real estate, for homes that are in the zip code area, when they're trying to sell a 3 or 4 bedroom homes, which we have a shortage of homes, they don't get a consideration because when they go to look it up on the MLS reading, it shows that it is in Flint as opposed to in Grand Blanc. And so they don't get a consideration. So it is a difficult situation for many people. In regards to the other reasons why we want to look at this change, and this is from 2013, the first time we tried to do this. What we noted was efficiency for the township to process personal property tax, a possible reduction from 10 to 50% in liability insurance on home and vehicle, a convenience of the use of GPS and smartphones for businesses to be found. If you use a smartphone or a GPS and you don't put Flint, it doesn't show up. So it makes it very difficult for places such as the bowling alley when they do national events there, when they get people that come from out of state to be able to find the location or to find hotels that are going to be in proximity to where the tournament may be. Possible savings for business and reductions, as we said, for the liability insurance. So we have already put together all of this, taken it down to Detroit. I met with the people down in there back in 2013, and we were denied. So according to them, the reason for the denial was that their purpose is to deliver mail. It's not for convenience of a municipality. So what I'm asking, what I'm looking for you to do is to appeal that decision and to go to Washington with this, which would be the next step. And we've tried to do it as a chamber on our own. What I think we need is numbers. I think we need names or signatures from over 50% of the families that are here, which we're hearing, we're getting the phone calls, I don't know if you are also, that these people do want the zip code to be changed, and also the businesses definitely want the zip code to be changed. So what I'm asking for is a partnership with the township board to be able to put together a plan to appeal this decision of denial and possibly be able to change this. It has been done before in Grand Blanc, so it's not a new thing that we're asking for. But I think for the residents in Grand Blanc, the businesses in Grand Blanc, it would be something that I hope we can talk about. Do I ask if you have questions?
Go ahead.
My question is not so much about changing the zip code. I understand that, and I understand the insurance purpose behind it, okay? But I'd like to know, how did they get this way in the first place? Do you have some history on it?
I do. In talking to the Postal Service, it had to do with routing. As far as mail, they use Flint, of course, for routing, and also believe it's called Cody Station, which is on Atherton. And so when they laid out the routes, it was a matter of convenience for the fewest number of delivery trucks. So in doing so, they have their own districting.
Just a comment Judd, on this. In the previous board, we did vote and amongst our board members to support the effort. We've taken a little bit further with this board in that we've actually asked all of our board members to give us what their priority issues are here in Grand Blanc, and also to rank them, and then also volunteer to serve on task force that represent those issues. And
Okay.
the zip code was actually one of the items that came up. We had probably 20 different things that we looked at, and the zip code was actually like number 7 in terms of how we ranked it. We've got a few other things right now that we're working on with priority, but we do have right now a couple of us have signed up to work, I think it's Kathy and I, so far on the zip code. But so we have said that it is a priority for us.
That's great.
Okay, so we've already said that we want to do something on it.
Okay.
Majority of us, so.
And I'd be willing to share all the information that we have. I don't know that these letters from 2013 would be of value. We may have to go back and get new ones, but I would be more than willing to work with you. That would be excellent.
Yeah.
Jeff, when we went out in 2013 and had petitions in that sign, are you thinking that those might be invalid now?
Kathy, I don't know. It's a new world working with the Postal Service because they don't really answer to other governmental entities. That
The south end of our township is also concerned about the same issue,
is correct.
because we have obviously Tech Village in that area, and we have a Holly mailing address. So I think, one of the things that we probably need to point out, the post office is probably well aware of, is the zip code in the past may have been simply for delivering mail. And now with GPS and the internet, what have you, zip codes are more of a directional thing for people looking for how do I get from point A to point B. And I know I've run into that problem even. I was going to a grand opening, actually, of trying to think of the name of the autism center.
Strive Autism Center
Yeah.
on Dirt Highway.
Put it in my GPS just because I was coming from an odd location, just to see what would be the quickest. And it took me way out of my way. And it's like, I know this isn't correct. I just skipped the GPS and went there. But it is an issue, and we do have it on our list of priorities. So, Mr. Answer?
So I think, Scott, your point was kind of the right one here.
in terms of what other approach, because the first time around didn't seem to appeal to the powers of the post office. So the GPS and whatever other benefits we can have, I think has to be kind of built, because what was done before is not sufficient.
Right.
The other question that I guess I would have is do we know if there's some cap on the number of people in a zip code? Because we have a lot of other development, we've got more people coming in Del Webb, and so, I mean, we don't really want to cut off our nose to spite our face here. If we get some things done, maybe that somehow causes the post office to somehow split Grand Blanc if we, get more people. So I just wanted to see if that's a concern for the post office.
I like what they did with area
With the air
code.
code, there you go.
Yeah. Mr. Mansour, I can tell you I do have a copy of the zip code boundary review process, and it's from 1998, and they really haven't updated it from then. It doesn't mention a quantity of residents to fulfill a zip code number.
Yeah, so I guess the other way to look at that would be, what are other comparable zip codes? I mean, if you were to go down to 4436 or 4326, some other ones, there might be some examples there that would show that we're well under.
Yeah.
So that might not be something to look at.
Well, and not to belabor this, but, one thing too is to consider is that we're not the only municipality that has zip codes that cross over boundaries for the township or municipality. So we have to make a compelling reason why in our circumstance we should, because there's going to be some others that want to jump in our coattails and say, hey, our community has the same thing going on.
Yes.
So we need to find out why uniquely and promote that Grand Blanc needs this.
Okay.
So we work on it, and I appreciate you being here, Jeff.
Thank you.
Us forward. Yes.
Yeah, I have one question. Do you think this issue requires taking it to the United States Senators of the state?
I have talked to U.S. Congressman Dan Kildee about this, and also to, at the time, Charles Smiley about this. And in talking to the congressman, he said that he has no jurisdiction over this. He can find out where the process is when we put the request in, and he can get them to respond back to us. But he didn't seem to feel that they had any leverage that they could push through. And maybe collectively, maybe more people on board would do that, might help. I just don't have an answer for you.
I was thinking U.S. Senator Stelmach would be a good person to contact.
Yes, possibly. I mean,
Next year. He's up for re-election.
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Any other public comments? Good evening, Mr.
Good evening. Eddard, 7212 Porter Road, and I'll really be loud in that. I know I will. I have to mention the zip code. It also puts some other people at advantage, and maybe the township at disadvantage, because that zip code, 48439, is also part of Burton. So when you look up to buy a house in Grand Blanc, you look up 48439, and you find out you're buying a house in Burton, or maybe some other township. So the directions in the zip code does mean a lot. So anyhow, I attended our fire meeting yesterday. Too bad Mr. Kent wasn't there. There were 22 people there at the board, but I did want to bring up what the mayor said about not tie barring that when we did the Parks and Recs, and I think that was back in '96, when the township turned it down and the city approved it. She said it took them years to straighten that out. Oh my goodness. I don't see what the big problem was. You got a choice of saying, okay, we're going to tax the people for the money or not. But they chose to take the money, and then they told to take the money and put it in a separate account and make sure it wasn't spent in the township or in the commission for anything. No, that's fine. That's what they did. They set the precedence for that. I can't imagine why it took them years to figure that out. It'd take me about 20 minutes to figure that out.
Let's have Mr. his comments.
He kind of lost me there. What happened? I'm sorry.
The mayor brought up,
Yeah, I remember that. And they-
but she said it was, here's what she said it took them years to straighten that out. I don't know what it took years to straighten out. You take the money, you put it in an account, you keep it to yourself and leave it there. I don't know what the years was all about. Okay? So let me, if you want to comment on it, go ahead.
Well, I was chairman.
It's part of your 3 minutes.
I was chairman of the Parks and Rec, and it took only the first meeting to say, I made the determination, we're putting it on account so that the taxpayers know where it's going, and it can only come out with a resolution that's approved by the city council.
I agree with that. That
It was,
didn't take years.
no, it was the emotional part of, it was the first big rift between the city and the township. And my perception was that's what she was talking about.
Well, it's money, it's not emotions.
Okay.
Okay? I guess when you talk about the city and township, I guess, and I want to kind of go through this, I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but basically, ask yourself, what is the benefit for a joint fire department? What is the benefit being joint for the township? How does it benefit them? How does it benefit the city? I guess those are the questions you got to ask yourself. Because I really don't see any benefits. I see a bunch of liabilities. We have meetings after meetings. We do cabinets. We have misunderstandings. We have misinterpretations. We have legal matters involved. He says, she says, and on and on and on. You know, we've been a joint for a long time. And the city still doesn't understand who pays for what. I'm getting back to the cabinets. We just can't seem to get a good understanding, so, you know, and yesterday there's 22 people around. They come up to a conclusion, and I think what's happening here is the township board is trying to bring them up to speed. Because at the first meeting, they just were oblivious to anything that was going on. So now we're bringing them up a little bit to speed, but we're spending a lot of time doing it, and that's why you get back to what is the real benefit of doing this? Do we really need the city in the room making these decisions? So think about it, that question. What's the benefit? I can think a lot of benefits for the city, but I can't think of many for the township. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. With that, we'll move on. We already approved the agenda, which would include the consent agenda. Actually inadvertently didn't get approval prior, but we already approved that. Mr. Mansur provided a written report that we included in the consent agenda. The next item on the board agenda is future positioning, and everybody received in their packet the list of where we're at on the strategic agenda items. We have Parks and Recreation that Ken Thomas, Earl Buzak, and Al Mansur have signed up for. Streets and Roads, Kathy Lane, Joe Massey, Scott Bennett. Our Fire Task Force, obviously Kathy Lane, Joe Massey, Earl Buzak. We're going to probably be assigning a few people. I'd like to see I'd like to combine a couple of these also. We've got business attractive assessment, as well as attracting restaurants and retail, and the appearance and appeal of Grand Blanc Township. I'd like to see if maybe we can combine a couple of those together. Actually, Mr. Leamet and myself had a meeting this morning with the city, with a few of their people. We talked a little bit about the survey that they did on economic development, and kind of dovetails into what we are looking at here with our task force. So you probably will be getting a phone call from me. I think a couple of these we want to include maybe some individuals outside the board, but anyways, anybody have any input on these? I'm going to, if you want to get going on these things and doing research, let's do it. I know I've spoken with Mr. Mansur about a couple of these, and if we need to meet on Saturday mornings, I'm all for it. I know everybody's evenings are full, but let's let's talk informally, maybe after the board meeting, even, and set up some times for some of these task force so we can get it going, okay? Anybody have any input or thoughts on these?
Your job's got to put this together.
Well,
Very good job.
you know, the things that are on this list, thanks, Ken, but the things on this list are items that our board members thought were important, right? These aren't my agenda items, they're all of ours, and so I guess we all own them, and our residents are planning on us, you know, achieving something during our 4 years of office and not just business as usual. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do.
Me too.
And so, yeah, yes, Mason?
Just a question.
Sure.
What do you think about streets and roads tie in with tech village?
I think it's a different animal. Yeah, I think, you know, Tech Village, we're looking at potential development there in terms of economic development. Right now, the Planning Commission has that, and it's going through the ordinances that are going to be required, and building code, what have you. Early fireworks is all that was. Streets and roads, I think, you know, Miss Lane has a passion for that as well as you, I know, and we all get questions on it. It isn't so much operational in terms of, you know, we need this road done or that road. It's more taking a look at what can we do to make sure that the roads in Grand Blanc get done. You know, are there some things we can do to move that ball forward, having better roads than what we have now? So, okay. Hopefully that answered the question, but what the word. Anything else on those issues? Okay. All right. With that, let's move on to zoning issues. And item 6, the board will consider a motion to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to approve rezoning request ZC 651, parcel ID 12-06-553-302 from R4 single family residential to neighborhood commercial for the expansion of a commercial facility. Mr. Lady?
Well, it's my pleasure to present to you a straightforward rezoning, unlike the at least last one that we had, it was a conditional rezoning. This came in front of the Planning Commission as submitted by a business owner located on Fenton Road near Jefferson Boulevard in the township. And the business is called Midstate Litho Inc. And the proposal was to rezone a lot that is directly to the west of their existing location for their building to allow them to park vehicles and to put pallets inside and other items that were associated with their business that were currently outside. They want to be able to put it into a garage on the inside. And what they needed to do to accommodate that is to acquire a piece of property that is directly to the west of them or behind them. And because that property is zoned R4 residential, they needed to ask for a rezoning for that piece to allow them to build this garage on it. And also they're going to have to combine their existing neighborhood commercial parcel with the new parcel they bought, and that would be rezoned to neighborhood commercial. And so the Planning Commission took this up in 2 steps. I think that they had they met and made a decision for recommending the rezoning. That was on June 1st, but they had also held a public hearing on this question at their previous meeting. And by notation from Jill Bain of Peoples Webster, there wasn't anybody in the public that had any comment against or, for that matter, for the request. So the Planning Commission went ahead and did their traditional examination, and the way I think about their traditional steps for examination, and you can see this in the Peoples-Webster report, particularly on page 3, they have to go through all of these, they have to go through A through M, and decide whether a piece of property is appropriate for a traditional rezoning. And in my mind, and this is maybe an emphasis that I've created over the years. The biggest question in that regard is, does this proposed rezoning meet the master plan? And if you look on page 2 of the Giffords-Webster report, you see there's a blue box that's located in the neighborhood commercial. That is our master plan. And as you can see, the existing property and then the proposed rezoning property is within the neighborhood commercial. So their request is consistent with the master plan. Also, if you want to refer to the existing zoning, you look on page 1 of the Giffords-Webster report, and you see that the current operation is in neighborhood commercial. But again, the property just adjacent to them to the west is residential. And so that was the basis of the request. As you see by the Giffords-Webster report, the Planning Commission went through all of the steps that they believed were relevant, primarily to protect the neighbors from any sort of expanding neighborhood commercial use against an existing residential property. And by the look of the minutes that Clerk Lane provided you, it looks like the Planning Commission was very concerned about that. In fact, there was some comment about if this request is approved, that they'll have to go through the site plan review process and make sure that there's adequate buffering or any sort of, visually, any sort of noise that might be an issue, and anything that might negatively affect the neighbors. So the Planning Commission, again, came to the conclusion that the addition of this accessory building or this garage wasn't going to cause any significant impact to the neighbors. Our process, as you know, is once the Planning Commission's held a public hearing and discussed the requirements of the criteria for rezoning, if they believe it's appropriate, they'll make a recommendation and send it up to you, which they have done. I don't see anything in the notations from Giffords-Webster or in the minutes of the June 1st meeting that would necessarily raise any alarms as far as particularly the impact to the surrounding properties. Again, the aesthetics of it and the buffers, both visual and for noise and other intrusions, will be taken up in site plan review. And the request, I'm sorry, go ahead. No, the request, again, the Planning Commission is recommending it, and it's up to you to decide if you want to amend your zoning map.
Mr. Thomas?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ZC number 651 for the rezoning.
Support.
Yes, Mr. Massey?
I do have a question.
Sure.
So, Mr. Ladd, your attorney, how close is the nearest residential house?
Well, that's a good question. I am going to pass down to you.
On the map?
Yeah, it's
I've
just
got
across
that.
the street, isn't it?
Well, actually, I'm going to show you this map because there's a diagram of it. This was part of the application, and I don't think you have that in the Giffords-Webster report. But I'm going to give this to you so you can take a look at it. And if you want to pass it down, if anybody else has the same question. As you can see, this is Fenton Road.
Yeah.
This is the property. That's the rezoning. There's no house there. There is a house there. And the accessory structure will have to observe the rear yard setback for that property.
I'm very familiar with the area.
Okay, so there'll be a buffer
Yes.
there in addition to whatever buffer is required by the Planning Commission in the site plan process. Maybe it'll be trees, maybe it'll be trees and a fence, things like that.
The only reason I asked the question, attorney, is because you mentioned noise. And I thought that in order to get that kind of noise just from vehicles moving in and out, it has to be in a very close proximity.
Yeah, and again, I'm assuming, and there was, again, there's a notation in the minutes of the Planning Commission that they were concerned about that, the Planning Commission as well, and they remain concerned. And again, whatever they can do to mitigate any effect or impact on the neighbors, they're going to require that.
Motions.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. Under operational issue, first item A, the board will consider the resolution for Blanc Township grant agreement to receive federal HAVA and state appropriated funding voting system, including optical scan tabulators, accessible voting devices, and election management system, EMS software, pursuant to the Federal Help America Vote Act of 2002. Ms. Lane?
Everything that you see in these first three questions is boilerplate from the state, and the HART equipment is what the Genesee County Clerk and the Clerks Association selected after looking at the three vendors. Other counties will use one of the other, any one of their choice, but we like HART, and they'll be picking up all of our equipment because we don't have an August election, sometime probably in July, and taking it out of here, and later on they'll bring us the new equipment, and we start training in July, Sue and I, and on the next issue, you have a list. We ordered everything to match up with what we have now with the M100 and the AutoMart, so that we know that we'll have adequate equipment, because the county doesn't have backup equipment. The machine goes down, and Hart is from Texas, and they are still in the process of setting up a facility, probably in Oakland County, to service their equipment. But I found that when I was here, I bought extra equipment, and it helped us continue an election with less problems with our voters.
So is there a motion on item A?
So move. I'll second. Support.
Okay. Any discussion? Yeah, Mr. Mansell?
Chairman Bennett. So a couple questions on this. Is this HART equipment, the newer version, is it being used anywhere in the state at this point?
No, this is all the equipment that people have been using, or what we've been using for the past 10 years when the state had everybody change. This will be the first time it's been utilized in the state of Michigan. The clerks went through the pros and cons of each of the three, and this one had, I would say, the most forward-looking software that would be beneficial. We transmit right from the voting machine when we turn it off down to the county, so that results come in faster. They're not official until the Board of Canvassers does all the surveys, but at least quicker response time for a whole lot of things.
Mr. Mansell? Okay.
So maybe just allow me two more here. Did you hear say that equipment was being delivered in this July, this August, a couple months here?
First thing we're going to have is the pickup of every bit of equipment that we have right now to empty out the room, and then they'll be delivering the other equipment. But the specific date we don't have, because some.
But it's in the next 60 days or so.
Yes.
The last point I had was, and I think this wraps into items A, B, and C, right? That's what we're
Correct.
doing here. Is the idea behind the maintenance cost for the 6 through 10?
I've
And
discussed.
I just like, Commissioner, I'd like Treasurer Bruzak, if we could get his opinion on, the 5-year, 10% discount versus the extended one in terms of best deal for the township.
I think our superintendent, along with Ms. Lane and someone else, already went through that. I think he's the one that submitted that.
I brought the three options up, and I'm putting it forward and asking the board to just direct them to make that decision. When we get the new equipment, if they want the 15% discount, they'll have to have the money ready. That's not something that I watch as Dennis and Earl would. Or we can wait and pay in the 5th year and get a 10% discount for years 6 through 10. Or just pay it and not take advantage of any of the discounts.
We discussed this, I think, at our executive committee meeting between Treasurer, Ms. Lane, our superintendent, Mr. Linda, Mr. Ladd, and myself. And, when you're looking at anything 10 years out, you wonder, how technology is going to change, and also corporate, America changes a lot quicker than every 10 years. So who knows, where this company will be in 10 years. So I'm not sure where we want to go on going that far out, but I guess that's fair game for this discussion. Yes?
Madam Chair, I have a question for Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Do you mind explaining the process for downloading to the county?
This is going to be a wireless transmission either, and they haven't chosen the vendor because throughout Genesee County, sometimes AT&T works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Verizon does, and sometimes it doesn't. So that's something that's going on right now. We've never been able to do it before, so this is a first. When we turn off these machines and are getting our totals at the end of the night, those results would be wirelessly sent to the county, and the next day we could take everything else that we always have to take down there at night the next day. And so that's, if hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother than we're having
So
with
does
the
it,
recording.
so does it use cellular technology or?
It's going to be wireless, so they're
where's
either
the
going,
internet?
well, they're going to be using AT&T and Verizon, and they have to decide how they're going to work with the courts where I checked with Robbie. In Grand Blanc Township, we don't have a problem if they take AT&T or Verizon, and so that hasn't been settled yet. The county, they have to protect 32 municipalities. And they're doing an excellent job.
Well, it's going to be a new world, not just for Grand Blanc, it's statewide, so.
Statewide for 10 years,
You know,
so.
and last night's discussion, I know, it briefly was brought up as far as timing for our fire millage. And I know it's probably getting out into the weeds a little bit, but we want to make sure that we maybe use this equipment in an election before we get to the gubernatorial election, where we will have people stacked up if there's any kind of issue with the voting machine. So we're really making a big change, it sounds like.
Absolutely, it is. But I have confidence in my team and in the dedicated election workers that they will come in. Sue and I are going to spend different weeks throughout the summer getting trained. And I know the election workers always, they stand behind us and they come in and work extra on their own time.
Is this equipment, Ms. Lane, new to the world, or are there other
No,
states
state of
using it?
Texas uses it.
Also, they do use it.
Sorry, I didn't bring it from Texas.
Okay.
Is that the only state that uses it?
No, they use it in several others, but that's where their
Okay,
headquarters
so they have
is.
some history then.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Go turn back.
Yeah.
Just one more thing. So, it doesn't appear to me as though we're going to get, right now, a significant portion of the funding for this comes from the state.
Absolutely.
Right. So, in terms of the service agreement, it seems unlikely that the state's going to come through in another 5 years and kick in more money. So it does seem that it would be appropriate to sign up for a service agreement that takes us out through, I guess, the useful life, the 10-year period. So then it's probably just a matter of time value of the money to figure that out. So,
Mr. Manswer, you don't have the option of the 10 years. All of this, all three items are for the total 10-year period for all of the three vendors and all their contracts throughout 83 counties in the state of Michigan. And so this is the plan, this is,
So then it makes
so
sense
it's not
to-
an option of whether or not you're going to have.
I don't think I mentioned that. All I was indicating was is that we have some time value of money considerations in which plan. Obviously, we need a maintenance plan. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, I don't know if we need to
We have
discuss
a
that, or?
motion.
Well, there's a resolution, the first one is.
Yeah, let's finish that one up. Let's, there's been a motion, it's been seconded.
Yes.
Okay, let's, Mr. Laddie, do you have?
No, just that we roll call vote for the resolution.
All right, so let's go ahead.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Mr. Manswer?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Guzak?
Yes.
Mr. Massey?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item B, the board will consider approving Grand Blanc Township in conjunction with the Michigan Department of State and Genesee County entering into the master contract with Hart InterCivic Inc. for voting system hardware, firmware, and software to receive voting equipment and authorize township clerk to execute all documents. Ms. Lane, any comment?
That is all boilerplate, and there's 107 other pages that the state has, and the county says you don't have to distribute the 107 pages. So I gave you the portion that the state had for Grand Blanc Township and that the county said we had to review.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Grand Blanc Township agreement with the Michigan Department of State, Genesee County, and master contract with her.
Okay, is there support? Second.
I have a question.
Chief Master.
Madam Clerk, why do you think the county commissioner said all the information shouldn't be distributed?
You can look it up on the internet rather than having me print or try to put in your packets an additional 107 pages of boilerplate that we have no control over nor does he.
Because I'm always suspicious. Everything that's coming from the county commissioners.
Well, no, it's not coming from the county commissioners. Has nothing to do with the county commissioners. It's the state of Michigan Bureau of Elections, to the Genesee County Clerk, Doreen
Don't
Fulcher.
tell Joe that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can have any more faith in that, but.
The county clerks went through every bit of this, and I'm extremely confident that this is going to work out.
So, any other discussion on that one?
I just have a quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
So every municipality in Genesee County is going to be using the HER system?
Yes.
Everybody in the state of Michigan is going to.
No.
Everyone? No.
No, there are three vendors.
Oh, okay.
There are three vendors, and each of the 83 counties chose which one of the three vendors the state approved. Oakland County and Genesee County and a few other ones chose HART. Others took Dominion or ES&S. Genesee County felt this one had a more advanced software program and an easier for people with special needs.
Yeah, just real quick, Mr. Chairman, through you, Kathy, I'm sorry, Ms. Burke. So all the clerks in the county got together. This isn't a John Gleason picked it and you guys went along, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Which way?
Mr. Gleason,
So the clerks.
we got notified, we established a subcommittee. They looked at all the pros and cons, then we spent a couple of days at one facility and went to separate rooms, operated each of the three
Oh, really?
equipment, did the pros and cons over several months,
Excellent,
and then decided on HART.
excellent. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote as well?
I don't think so. I think this is just regular. This just authorizes Kathy to sign the agreement.
Okay. All right, so there's been a motion, it's been seconded.
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item C, the board will consider authorizing the expenditure of $21,817 to CART Intercivic Inc., payable on delivery of all the equipment noted on the attached list, based on prices established by Genesee County, to be paid from the appropriate election account, and authorize the township treasurer and superintendent to determine the amount or the appropriate payment option for maintenance costs for 6 through 10 years.
We have to pay the $21,000 once we get the equipment.
And we're going to...
And then just give the treasurer and the superintendent the authorization to decide before or at 5 years or whatever.
Mr. Lehman?
So last year, in preparation for this, we knew it was coming. The previous clerk had asked to set aside $30,000 in the capital projects fund to accomplish buying this equipment. We didn't see everything ahead of us coming in, so we actually have to pay out $21,817. We have some money left over. But we do have money in our capital projects fund. In fact, we're pretty well funded in our capital enough to where we can meet our anticipated demands out through the next several years, about 5 years worth of what we believe our capital demands are. This would require us to do a budget adjustment to move some money from the capital projects fund in our reserve account in the capital projects fund in order to do this. I think if you look at what we're earning on our money in trustee Mansour's thoughts are well formulated, is that we're earning less than 1% on most of the investments that we have sitting out there for these accounts, and we have an opportunity to save 15%
expecting them probably in August or so. They're gonna pick up in July, that's the guesstimate right now. Everything that's in the back room, we're gonna clean up the back room, and they'll tell us. They have to get the route all together to deliver to 32 different municipalities, and so the county is organizing that.
Thank you.
Mr. Nusser?
Is there a motion on the?
No, there's
Yeah,
not.
I move to authorize expenditure of $21,817 to Hart Intercivic, purchase the equipment, and also to authorize the treasurer and superintendent to sign us up for the best maintenance cost, best maintenance program.
Support. Okay, there's a motion support. Any other discussion? Is this a roll call vote? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Lane, for your work on that. The board, item D, the board will consider a motion to approve a request from GIS IT Director Beller to replace and upgrade our Microsoft Exchange server and Microsoft Office 2016 software, and authorize the superintendent to execute the proposal from CDWG for the amount of $44,363 to be funded from the Capital Projects Fund Technology. Mr. Lehman?
Motion.
You make the motion?
I'll support the motion.
Okay. Mr. Lehman?
So we had planned this year for the upgrade for the server and had set aside $15,000 for that. The Microsoft Office 2016 software upgrade, we knew was coming, but we didn't plan on particularly doing it this year, but it is necessitated by our upgrade in IT technology, for especially for our assessing. There are some upgrades that are required for them to be optimize the use of the pads that they use out in the field now. So we thought at this time it made the most sense to move forward with it. The bids were out. You do have a transmittal from both myself and Director Ballard. Director Ballard is here to answer any questions that the board may have, the specifics about the server or the Microsoft Office 2016 software. It's a necessity, but we would request that the board consider the purchase of the server and licensing for the exchange, as well as the Microsoft Office 2016 software purchase in the amount of $44,363.
Mr. Answer?
So, question, in the board packet, Mr. Lehman, you mentioned that it was required that something currently in the queue would be pushed next year. What is that?
So we're considering, we've been working since last year actually on our electronic document storage management system. And Director Beller's been working on it and meeting with several different firms. We're trying to find what is the best fit for us, and it's a massive undertaking. But if you ever have time, we'd be happy to walk you through the building and show you the storage from the building plans to the assessing records, DPW, and the amount of actual storage space we have. We're kind of in a critical juncture right now, especially with our building plans, because the room is full of rolling files. We looked up, and that is about a $40,000 to $50,000 investment to expand, plus we need the space to expand them into. We started talking about spending that kind of money to acquire that, and it seems that we want to start moving closer towards the electronic document storage management system. We had budgeted $30,000 this year to start to look at that. That's probably not going to come to fruition because in reality, as the more we delve into this thing, you realize that we're most likely going to have to hire a company to come in. We thought maybe we'd use an intern who could begin to scan documents in. But it's so critical that I don't know that we want to use interns that might be here for a few weeks and here for someone else. We've got to be assured that we're going to have that information in that's going to be correct, factual, it's going to be accessible by all the different departments. So whether it's pulling up by address or PID or whatever, it's very critical that that information gets stored and cataloged. And if we use one of those systems, they probably going to pick it up 30 days later when we've got the information stored and we're ready to go. But it's going to take a much more considerable investment on our part than $30,000 to get us moving. It's probably more in the $70,000 to $100,000 range. So as critical as it is for us, when you look at just buying rolling cabinets for $50,000, it doesn't sound that bad because once we scan it in, it's in forever. But you also have to make sure that you have the ability to go in and retrieve it. You can't allow your storage system to become outdated so it would be easy for us to say what we set aside at $69,250 for all IT projects for the year. I think we'll come within that anyways with this purchase. The idea is we probably won't spend $30,000.
Chair,
Yeah, Mr. Massey?
I have a question for the superintendent. What five dimensions do you use for storage? Like if you store it here and then a flyer, how do you collect these documents and not being destroyed?
Those documents are all in fire safe rooms, so the walls go all the way up. A lot of them, if you climb up into the ceiling, you can go over the wall and go to the next office or whatever. All of our storage units, we can't have that. We're required to have, for those types of documents, that we've got fireproof drywall, the walls go all the way up to the ceiling. Not all of it is fire suppressed, however, because some of them you can't have in those documents, so whatever. But we're at a point right now where we're full. There's just no place to put anything else. So we've looked at a variety of options, including the DPW office area, to block out a section and turn that into rolling file cabinets. And of course, that would entail us completing that wall from fire suppression. We just think that it's not a question of will we ever go to this electronic document storage? It's just a matter of when we're going to do it. And we think that one of the things is we've had several people around us who have gone to it. We're hoping that we can learn from their mistakes, and so that by the time we roll it out, we're achieving.
Feel better. I gotta go. Feel better.
Superintendent, I like what you said about not hiring part-time workers to do the work, because I think you're asking for a problem.
Right. I don't know if they would take the critical care that we need for these types of plans.
Yeah, I think, looking long-term, and maybe it's one of our future positioning topics is the whole thing of, looking at document storage. I sat in on one of the meetings, and it almost puts it into a relational database type thing, so that you can access it. I could see maybe down the road where the fire department's on their way to a fire, and they can bring the building plans up on a computer in the truck on the way there. Tell where flammables are and what have you, but, so it really enhances things.
I think another part of this, when you look at what we're doing with the server upgrades, Robbie's done a really good job of managing our IT needs here, and the recession necessitated us making things last probably a little bit longer than they should. When you look at the average life of some of the servers that we had, some switches and things like that, Robbie and his department have done a real good job of extending the life of those so that we kept going. But we met a year and a half ago and started talking about what was critical, and there was a lot more things that were critical on that list than were not. And we're trying to get back up to where we start getting on a regular schedule, but these things will only be in there for their useful life, that we're not trying to get servers to last longer than they should. But the technology changes rapidly, but those are the things that keep us running up every day, and it's just not one of the things that you should wait on. When it's time to change those, let it change servers, it's time to change it. Robbie, you can probably speak to the board if you like.
You're still using your abacus though, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah, the Exchange server is probably one of our oldest ones that needs to be replaced. I mean, that one's going to be the next one, and then probably our phone system that we'll look at. But over the last few years, we've replaced a few of the servers as far as our storage server, our domain controller, security system. So this is the next one on the list to be replaced, and it basically is all our communication through email, how we manage our mailboxes for all the employees here, and we back it up that way. So this is one of the critical ones, and like I said, one of the older ones that we need to replace.
Ms. Lane?
I think I'm one of the few that knows, but I think the board should know that Mr. Beller just achieved his bachelor's degree from college.
Thank you. So,
Good job, Robert.
thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Beller?
Right.
One more comment about
Yes.
this. It's a little off the hint here about the document storage, but I just have to say that I've been consistently underwhelmed by professionals doing work for me, to the point where interns may be a better deal. So decide to do the document storage thing, we ought to have some kind of quality control plan that we put in place to sample the work and get it done, regardless of what it is.
Robbie's interviewed about,
Yeah, I've looked at a couple of organizations, and one of them, looking at what we have, between our building department and assessing department, we have almost 750 to 800,000 documents that needs to be scanned. So seeing an intern do that, and they partner with these scanning companies that will take all your documents and scan them and have them back to you within a month. One of them mentioned that they took, I don't know if it's Genesee County, but a large county, and took about 750,000 documents at the end of November and had it back to them, indexed and everything, and back in the system within a month. So I don't think an intern will be able to do all that. So, but they have a lot of quality control that they go through.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other discussion on it? Otherwise, we have a motion, there's a second, I believe. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item E, the board will consider a motion to approve the request from Parks and Recreation Director Kay Edson to award the bid for a security camera system at Creasy Bicentennial Park to the most qualified bidder, Structured Technologies, in the amount of $37,000. The Township Parks and Recreation Capital Millage Fund will be responsible for $29,500 if approved, unless offset by an additional $5,000 grant application approval, which we anticipate in August 2017. This item was given the approval of the Township Board as meeting the requirements of the millage fund expenditure earlier this year.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The commission, they voted on this overwhelmingly. It was approved to go with this vendor. There was 3 different quotes on this vendor. This was the most applicable and the best one. So I would like to make the motion that we just simply approve this motion.
Board.
Okay. Mr. Lehman, did you have any comment? I know you sat in, I believe.
I did sit in on it, and it was, the committee take a look at it and walk all the way through, and when you're looking at some of these camera systems, sometimes it's hard to know if you're comparing apples to apples versus apples to oranges. But the committee unanimously believed that Structured Technologies delivered the absolute best bang for our buck, and Kay had worked with Structured Technologies, and they are both here to answer any questions that the board may have for this evening. We feel very confident in Structured Technologies' ability to deliver the camera system that we're looking for. They did look into that. What the board had asked about is having the police department be able to monitor those directly, and the costs associated with that, I think $80,000 or something.
For installation.
For installation and ongoing monitoring costs would have been associated with it as well. Sometimes we're looking at it as it would have been good to have the police be able to see it, but we have a very low rate of vandalism out there at this point, and it's kind of like, could you justify that expense? I just think it was overwhelming for us to be able to justify.
Yeah. Mr. Lehman, Ms. Hudson can answer this, or maybe one of the individuals from Structured Technology. I guess, tell me, I understand the purpose for cameras, in most businesses, it's, if there's theft or there's an incident, you can go back and look at the tape. Tell me a little bit about what you want to use the cameras for at the park, and how you see them being used, what they're going to cover. Are they going to be kind of anonymous to people as far as what they're covering? Are they going to be able to pick up things at night?
Yes.
You can kind of talk about what they're going to do and what benefit they are to our township to have this.
Well, I'll have Mr. Lozen talk about what they're going to do as far as, or what they'll cover. What we're hoping they'll do is, 1, deter any further vandalism, and 2, if we have vandalism, we can bring the perpetrators to justice. I mean, we've lost several amount of money over the past 10 years in vandalism. The other concern, which I don't really like to go here, but there are so many instances now of kids or seniors that get lost or go missing. When both phases of the security system are in place, we're going to have great coverage throughout the park. And if someone were to go missing, hopefully, we would be able to see that person in their last spot and help the police to track down in a much quicker fashion. But I'll let, this is Mark Lozen from Structure Technologies. Let him speak to the coverage, if you want, Mark.
My name is Mark Lolson. I'm with Structure Technologies. My address is 8398 Cook Road, Swartz Creek, Michigan, 48473. Coverage is really going to start on the Grand Blanc Road. We're going to cover the entrance of any vehicles leaving on that end. That's going to be wirelessly connected to, I call it the shelter, the warming shelter. Between there, it'll be connected to the DVR. That'll be actually located in Pavilion 1. Given the amount of span between the buildings, trying to put a wire between there was not feasible, and we went back several times to make sure that we could do this wirelessly between the cameras, all the way back to the main pavilion. We're also giving some cost benefits for being a government agency. I was able to get a discount for adding in the, I believe it's called the water park?
Splash pad?
Splash pad. And a couple other areas there. And then we are working on considering Pavilion 2 as well. The cameras that we're using are, unlike the one I saw when I was walking in the door, it's pointing in one direction and it's pretty much looking at anything coming in and out of the driveway. But you miss a lot. We're using actually what we call 270-degree cameras. It looks 180 degrees and it looks down. So it's giving me a complete coverage up to 240 yards away is how far the cameras will actually zoom into. Inside the pavilions, we're using what we call fisheye cameras. It's a single camera in the middle that can see 360 degrees all the way around. And we're actually using them at both ends of the pavilion to cover the bathrooms and the I call it the concession area, but where the storage is at both pavilions. The splash pad is a little further away from the building that we're going to mount the camera on, so we had to step up the ability with that camera. That camera will be able to zoom in on the actual splash pad to see if there's any, I think, some concerns of somebody falling in and hurting themselves throughout the water area. So, storage-wise, with all the cameras that we're putting in, you're probably going to have 8 weeks. Given motion, they only record during motion. So as long as nobody's moving, they'll be recording. They are all infrared. Every one of them will have the ability to see things with a minimal amount of lighting at night. And then we are also putting a battery backup system on both NVRs or the DVRs so that in the event we lose power, we'll have the cameras up and running. One thing that Kay doesn't know I'm working on, and I'm just going to surprise her with it, I'm working on, we don't have any internet connectivity, so you cannot view those cameras remotely. She'll have to, or she'll call us to come out and help her review those cameras. I don't like that feeling. So both ends of the building, there's Comcast, and I'm working with Comcast now to see if they can supply an internet connection to the first camera, which we can connect all the rest of the wireless is accordingly. So it's just another project I was going to tell you later about, but since I'm here, I might as well say it. So, any other questions?
Yes. How high would the camera be from ground level?
Typically, you don't want them really over 18 feet, so we're going to keep them up at least at 16.
Okay, Mr. Rosette?
Yeah, I just had a question, and I probably missed it in there, but I know the amount was $37,000, but we're only eligible for $29,500, so is it different, is it a discount, or is it, what is it?
No, that's from the grant from the Community Foundation. We have a $7,500 grant.
So that's a separate grant from the other $5,000 grant you're talking about,
Correct.
right?
The Community Foundation grant has been confirmed.
Okay.
The $5,000 grant through the Michigan Park Plan is still pending. We should know that by the first week of August.
Yeah, I knew it was there, I just thought you could clear it up.
Yep.
About warranty on the cameras?
Cameras are 5 years, NVR is 3. and we're standing behind our work for 2 years, so we told Kay that we would support her in maintenance for 2 years.
Very good. Mr. Massey?
I'm sorry, your name was? Sir?
Mark?
Mark, okay. So, I like this proposal, I think it's great, I think we need the cameras, it's all a good thing, and, you know, I looked up the features for this exact Vision ELP, the 6 terabyte one that you're looking at here. And it has an easy access to the internet and a free app that you can get on your iPhone
Yes.
or your Android or whatever. So I guess it really confuses me on how we would get from basically a hookup to a Comcast and a free app to the $80,000 for the monitor that, you know.
They don't use the same cameras for the monitoring, so if you were to, I have a acquaintance who put many of the cameras in the Flint Township area at the streets and so forth. One intersection was $80,000.
So what is the app getting you then? I mean,
The app just gives you access to the actual camera system for monitoring.
it does not.
It does,
It does.
as long as it has internet connectivity.
So what would be the difference between using that versus one that you mentioned in Flint Township that cost $80,000?
The cameras cost $80,000 for the installation with the poles and all that stuff, and then there's a monitoring feed because there's data involved for those cameras to feed back to the local police department.
But does it do anything different than what we'd be able to view on by internet?
Nope.
No, the one's an intersection, it's a traffic intersection.
But
Pardon me?
saying that for us to have ongoing monitoring, it's $80,000, but if we get internet connection, we can have the same ability.
$60 a month or something. whatever.
Correct. So she will be able to, from her desk, be able to view these cameras, both of them.
Somebody that does cabling for Comcast, so,
So do I.
okay.
Lives right next door.
All right.
And the police can monitor too, not just them, right?
If they have the application, that's correct.
But the app's free, right?
Correct.
So we should have our cell phones and use
Yes.
I just had one other question. I know with this, we had our millers out there for like $291,250, which is the estimated amount. And I know this will take a little bit over, but I also know that you're gonna have excess from it's gonna be approximately 2,000, maybe over, but we got excess in our cell tower fund that could cover that. And that's also subject to the personal property tax. If we don't collect it, that would have to come out of cell.
With security cameras, that will not take us over because of the grants.
Well, I know, without, yeah, if the other grant doesn't come in, okay, if the other 5 doesn't come in, the way I checked it out, if the other 5 doesn't come in, you're only gonna be about 2,000 off. And we should have approximately 7,000 available in the cell tower, so we should be fine. The only other difference would be the personal property tax. If we can't collect it, you know, that would be something.
It will take the cell tower to finish off the fields. There's enough money in the millage to complete the security camera system, and then it will take the cell tower money to finish the fields.
Well,
Correct.
yeah, you're actually right, because I was looking at both items. I was looking at this item as well as the next one, and if both of them go in place without the $5,000 grant, we're about 2,000 short plus whatever we don't get from personal property. So that way, it would be, you're maxed out, and then the cell tower would cover the difference. I knew you were aware of that, but I just want to make sure you were aware of that.
Mr. Lehman?
Yeah, we ran it late this afternoon and looked at it. I mean, we had initially given Kay the projection for village funds at about $281,587. Right now, the collection stands at $290,000 and change or whatever. I mean, it's higher than it was because of reimbursement from the county.
Yeah, right now it's 298.15, but the records I saw was 291 instead of 280, but that's fine.
Right, no, it's the 290, it's not,
Yeah,
it's not
291.5.
it's 290. And so with everything that we've done, our goal was to spend every bit of that village for the first few years, and I think we did a pretty admirable job this first year.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there a motion?
Yes. I have one question.
Mr. Massey?
Who will determine who has the app to view
Everyone, anybody in the world.
I'm not sure about that, but I think we can.
We can't control that, right?
Yep. Actually, Kay will be
It
trained.
won't be a public,
No.
but I think, okay, and, I don't know, give it to our police police or whoever to monitor if they want to.
Is there a limit on it? Yeah, I know she's gonna control it. Is there a limit or a maximum that can be out there? There isn't.
No, actually, we use the same system at the Grand Blanc School District. The same exact NVRs for JP and his crew.
Right, but we couldn't get an app on theirs, could we?
Well, if you can get his permission to get into them, yes, you can.
Both of them are restricted, is what my point.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, and there's a way to stop it unless somebody hacks it somehow, right?
That's why I'm sticking around.
Right.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Look forward to watching video cams. Okay, the board will consider a motion to approve the request from Parks and Recreation Director Hudson to award the proposal for soccer field upgrades to contractors landscape in the amount of $9,463 to be paid from the Township Parks and Recreation Capital Millage Fund. This project was given approval as meeting requirements of the millage fund expenditure earlier this year. Ms. Hudson? Okay. Motion?
Second.
Supported. Ms. Hudson?
Any questions? They are currently the contractor that's working with Grand Blanc Schools. You know, JP Adams is very thorough about who he works with. I have every confidence in working with this company.
Call for the vote. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Might as well go for another one, kid, you're on a roll.
Think amount of money.
No.
I'd say we're fresh out of gas.
Okay, item G. The board will consider a motion to approve a transfer of funds awarded as part of the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG, from demolition of blighted structures to water well abandonment project in the amount of $24,545. There is no general fund budget impact from this transfer of funds within the CDBG program. Mr. Linda?
So initially when we approved for our 2017-19 CDBG funds, we had one address listed on there, and just look, I don't have the address with me, but it was a house that we had identified as Blite for demolition. Since that time, that address is no longer a blighted home. Land Bank has actually had somebody purchase that home, and it's undergone renovation, so it's no longer eligible for it to be torn down. It's going to become a living, breathing member of society once again. So in talking to the CDBG folks, their recommendation was that we take the funds that we had set aside, the $24,545 for that blight, and because we can't just shift it to another blight without the address being pre-approved, their recommendation is that we move to another one of our projects. The board recalls last month we approved the water well abandonment project in the residential streets. That was the identified low-income area. So our recommendation to the board is that you take a recommendation to reallocate those funds from the demolition to the well abandonment project, and that will allow us to roughly get 5 more homes connected to the public water supply.
Make a motion?
Support.
I did receive a phone call from one of our county commissioners, Drew Shapiro, last week, and they did pass a budget item that will allow for the out-county areas to receive funding for demolition of homes. So I've got Mr. Lima, we're looking at a few of the houses that we would have on our short list to get rid of. So probably, hopefully, if that money comes available, we can go back to the board with demolition or two.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I have a question on this proposal. So we originally approved the $40,165 for the whatever many. Have we had any requests from any of the residents to use that fund?
Yes, the letters actually went out because we had to wait. There was some confusion on the part of CDBG asking for clarification if we were doing income qualifications, which we did not have to do. And but that delayed us putting the letters out for a couple of weeks. In the meantime, we had one of our assessors was out doing field work in the neighborhood, and she was notification from CDBG that we did not have to do any qualification, we're good to go. Those letters were sent out, so that's only been out maybe about 2 weeks. I don't know the exact number of contacts that we've had since that time.
The list is pretty well full up in front. Before we had this money, I was talking to Mr. Sears yesterday, because actually I was in that neighborhood, and I'm looking at a house that somebody had complained about, and a resident approached me and said, "Hey," he said, "I signed up." He said, "Can you make sure I'm on your list of houses that can be connected?" He said, "I've got a well, but the water that comes out of it is just so horrible." He said, "You won't even drink it. You saw what it looked like." And he said, "I'm hoping that I'm on that list, you know." And so I spoke to somebody here, and he said, "They put me on it." He was on it. So,
Okay.
okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this next item, board will consider a motion to approve the hiring of Heather Payer for the position of staff accountant, accounts payable. This is a union represented position of Chapter B, Local 1918, Council 25, American Federation of State County Municipal Authorities. Mr. Lehman?
This was added to your agenda after the agenda had gone out last Thursday. The reason being we're waiting to finalize our interviews, and that process finalized last week. The offer was made on Friday, and she accepted it after the weekend to think about it. We wanted to get it in there and get it out because Mary Ann retired effective on June 9th, I believe it was, and while she has agreed to come back and work contractually for us to help us keep pushing accounts payable out, we obviously want to fill the position as quick as possible. Our candidate, Heather Payer, was a unanimous choice from our interview panel, which consisted of our human resources person, Colleen, the finance director, Kathy Sosak, and myself. We had a very impressive list of candidates to choose from. We interviewed 6 people, I think 7 people. We brought it back down to 4 people with follow-up interviews, and again, we had a selection for Heather. We're excited to see her come. She is prepared to start with us on July 10th. I assume the position, it is a Chapter B position. The wages are likely marked and set.
Is there a motion?
Also move.
Support. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, one of the last agenda items is what are we hearing from the community? And again, isn't necessarily to set up a new agenda or anything, but if there's something you've heard in the community that we should look at a future meeting, I'm going to bring it up here and we'll make note of it. Looking at Ms. Lane.
That's something you can look at right now. That's the new crime prevention sign that the police are selling. Well, they designed it with the Michigan State Highway Department building across the street. I bought 2 for our subdivision, June 7th. I've got the orange stake in my yard, but it's a good program, and I just wanted to friends saw it, and we wanted to do it in your own area.
Anybody hearing anything from the community that they want to bring up that we need to pay attention to?
There was a group at last Thursday's meeting at the commission, Parks and Rec Commission, excuse me,
Okay.
and there was all of the junior and the youth football program. It just started recently, in the last year, 2 years now, they've been out, and they're really concerned about football fields and the crowding of the 3 football fields that they're trying to build, and they're trying to get as much built as they can to get out there and finish up the crowning of it. So that was kind of interesting. There's half a dozen of them. It was last Thursday we had our at the commission meeting, the public
Hearing.
thank you, public hearing, and when the 7 people showed up, we thought they were there for the hearing. But it was all about football, the youth football program. So I found that very interesting.
Thank you. stick around, and if anybody, we can talk about a couple of these task forces and set up some meetings. Mr. Mansler?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Support.
And are we going to discuss?
You know what, one thing, if I may, we didn't have on the agenda the fire meeting, the joint meeting with the city that we had last night, but we have a list of items that we want the task force to look at, and I guess if there's additional items that you would like the task force to consider, please bring those to Mr. Lena's attention or mine, and we'll make sure the task force reviews those. But we will bring that. I think our first task force meeting is, well, we know.
Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night of the week, so. With that, as I said, if you see something that isn't included, that the task force doesn't have on the list, let us know and we'll include it. Thank you very much. And the meeting, there's a motion to adjourn, there's support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
I'm going to wish everybody a happy.
Yes.